Hello, hello, Thrivers. This is your host, Zaheen Nanji, for the Thrive in Life show. And usually I have my uh, Thrive in Life show, tag at the bottom with my website, but I don't know what's happening with Google Hangouts today. So what I'm going to do, I improvise. So there you go. Thrive in Life show. Welcome. And there's my website, zahinnanji.com. But what I wanted to let you know today is that we have a special guest on who I just met this year, and we're already at episode number 23. Woohoo! Going strong, going out there, and I hope that you're enjoying. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart that I really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to watch these shows. We do this so that we can inspire you, and I get inspired at the same time when I meet, people like my guest that I have today. So without further ado, what I would like to do is introduce him, but I also want to remind you that last time, episode number 22, we had Jason Finnegan, and he talked about how to overcome, or how to cope, I should say, with mental health. And it was an amazing episode where he talked about his own journey, and he left you, the viewers and the listeners, with 5 tips that you can take on if you suffer from any kind of mental health issue. So with that, episode number 23 is going to be even more fun because you're going to meet this guy who at a young age defied or beat the odds. So let me introduce him first, and then I'll bring him on. Okay, Matthew Gerard is a professional speaker who you would also call a medical miracle. Matthew uses 3 words, and those 3 words to live by, and I actually wrote them down for you. The first one is sacrifice, which is great, isn't it? Because to me, sacrifice is not just about sacrificing something just for the sake of doing it, but sacrificing something for something bigger than you, something that is important to you. The next one is dedication. And I know when I do these kinds of shows, when I write my book, I always say that this is something that you have to commit to. If you have a goal, if you have something that you want to achieve in life, you have to be dedicated and committed. And if you're not, it's not going to work. And on top of that, you have to be consistent. Consistent habits and dedication are the secret sauce. Okay, and then the last word that he lives by is huge. Perseverance. I tried to fit it in there, did my best. But perseverance is that when the going gets tough, right, you just keep doing it. And this is what his life has been about. And I'm going to bring him on, but first I want you to know that he went through an accident when he was 16. And believe me, he was told a lot of things that he couldn't do, but he defied the odds, and he graduated from the University of Western Ontario with a specialization in sociology and psychology. He also graduated with his diploma from Fanshawe College in Social Service Worker Program. He owns and operates it's actually a comedy business called Face Plant Comedy with his sister in London, Ontario, Canada. So Matthew, come on and say hi to the viewers and the listeners on the podcast.
How are you? It's good to be here. I'd like to wish you a happy Mother's Day. You got little ones of your own, don't you?
Yes, I have a 10-year-old.
And happy Mother's Day to any of the viewers as well.
Yes, thank you. And I forgot to say that. Thank you for saying that for us. So the day that we're recording this show, it is Mother's Day around the world. So happy Mother's Day to all you Thrivers out there. So yeah. Matthew, let's start by just kind of starting with the background of your story and why you're here today. Now, I understand that you were involved in a very serious accident at the age of 16. Can you tell us?
That's correct. I would be happy to. When I was 16 years old, I was fortunate enough to have my very first automobile. When I turned 16, I worked 2 part-time jobs. I went to high school. I also ran competitive track, and I was very fortunate to be able to afford my first car. Sadly, within 3 weeks, I was being a teenager behind the wheel, and I hit a hydro pole at a very high rate of speed. Officers estimate that the impact speed on the hydro pole was between 100 and 120 kilometers per hour on impact. I hit right on my driver's side door. Thank God nobody else was hurt in the accident. I was the only one, but it took firefighters 45 minutes to extract me from the automobile using the jaws of life. And the first police officer on the scene actually wrote it up as a fatal accident. He didn't look good when he saw me. My parents, sadly, they were on the scene before I was even taken out of the car. So I can only imagine what it's like as a parent to have to see that. But it didn't look good when the accident happened. When they took me to the hospital, I was in a coma, where I was in a coma for 3 weeks' time. And I was in a level 4 coma. I don't know if anybody's aware with the glucose coma rating, but a level 3 is when you're dead. A level 13 is what you and I are in right now. And I was in a level 4. I was deemed with a catastrophic head injury. Most people, recovery doesn't really happen as well as it did with me when you're in a catastrophic diagnosis.
So what happened? Like, what did they say to your parents when you went to the hospital?
What happened in my accident?
Yeah.
Well, that's like I said, I was 13. I was 16. I was a competitive runner. I ran a lot of track and field. And I guess I was just going too fast. Speed was a related factor. And that's why I said I made the mistake of doing that. And I thank God every day nobody else was hurt.
Right.
So it was,
right.
It's not like a sad story like, oh, that poor guy. No, I was driving fast. And thank God nobody else was hurt.
So you were in a coma, so you stayed for about 2 weeks?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Okay. So what was the recovery like when you came out of coma?
When I woke up from the coma, that's where, being in a coma, people always say, Matt, what's it like to be in a coma? To be honest, it's the best sleep of my life. I don't remember a thing. When I woke up, I had no idea where I was. I think I actually said to the doctor, oh, I'm in Kamoka, a little small town outside of London. Didn't even realize I was in a hospital. I was put on a puree diet because I couldn't eat solid foods. I had to learn how to walk. I had to learn how to talk. I had to learn, it was basically being reborn again at the age of 16. And my memory of what happened, I've narrowed it down that I've lost my complete memory of 3 weeks prior to the accident. I don't really remember owning a car. I don't remember my first year of grade 12. I even had a girlfriend at the time that I didn't even remember her when I woke up. So my memory comes back gradually, bits and pieces after the accident. But about 3 weeks before the accident, I will never get that memory back. I don't remember the accident. It's just what I'm told. But recovery, it's been a long battle. Being in the hospital was the easy part. It's when I got home that the actual recovering and putting my life back together actually began. The hospital was the easy part.
So
I worked with go on, sorry.
I was just going to say that you mentioned that the doctor said that this was quite serious and you couldn't talk, you couldn't walk, and you had to learn that, and you lost your memory. So did they say that you would not be able to finish high school, or did they say that you'd not be able to walk again, or did they say that no, you could after a while?
Walking. I was a competitive runner, and I was working some scholarships. So learning how to walk again was a real bust to my ego because I'm a runner. But the big bust to my ego was when they did do an IQ test on me, and they determined that I did have the math equivalency of a grade 2. The odds of me passing high school were very, very slim given the extent of my head injury. A brain injury is a very serious thing, and it actually happens to 1.3 million Canadians across the country suffer from acquired brain injuries.
Oh, So this is where now I get kind of excited when you say that, that the
You get excited. That's good.
because I want to know, like when I was going through your bio,
Hmm.
like really, like you have a diploma and you graduated, like how did you do it then? This is where I get excited, because this is where I want others who have gone through this, looking at you saying, really, he went through an accident at 16 and he had an IQ of a grade 2. And
Yeah.
here he is talking, and he has a business where he does comedy and he's doing fine. How the hell did he recover?
Well, with that, and I'd never be the one to take credit or toot my own horn for anything. It was a long struggle, but I am, like you said, you speak about resilience. I don't profess to be any more resilient than anybody else out there. It's just something I had to do. I was in the point where it's sink or swim, Matt. And I wanted to return to high school because I had a track and field scholarship I didn't want to lose. They let me take one class. They let me go back and they let me take English media. And they wanted me to have a helper in the classroom with me. That wasn't going to happen. I wanted nothing to do with that. I didn't want to be looked at as different. So I spent my lunch hours in the library. I didn't go out and hang out with my friends. I stayed in and I read books. I did my homework. I worked my butt off in that one class, and I got an 83% average in that class. It's probably one of the best high school marks I have ever gotten in my life. And the next year they said, you know what, you can take 2 more classes. Maybe he's got something going on here. I talked them into letting me take 3 classes because I wanted to run competitive track, and you need to be a full-time student in order to compete. So they let me take 3 classes, and I said, why don't I take that grade 12 math? You said I need to improve there. Nope, they said don't do it. That year I graduated high school, and I got the grade 12 math award when they said I had the math equivalency of a grade 2. That was one of my biggest accomplishments at that point, because I worked hard. I sacrificed dedication, perseverance. Instead of hanging out with my friends, I was up in the library sacrificing my free time to work on something that was important to me. Dedicated. I was there every day, giving it my all and trying my best. And perseverance, you know what, there were some struggles, some stuff it was harder for me to get, and it took a little bit longer for me to grasp it. Eventually I did. I got the grade 12 math award. Then I went on to college, university. There was no stopping me. I miss school with a passion. I have a joy for learning, and I want to continue learning every day. Even watching your videos, I'm learning something new with every person I meet.
Thank you. So, okay, so this is where I just want to go back, and here you were in the hospital, and you're 16 years old. You've been given some bad news. And in your head, like, I'm just kind of, trying to hack into your patterns here.
Everybody's been trying to hack into my thought wave. It doesn't happen. No, ask away.
And then here you are thinking, I have a scholarship and I love what I do, which is, running and track, right? And I don't want to let that go. So that was really important to you, correct?
That was, but the one thing I also didn't mention was I snapped my femur in 2. I got a steel rod in my leg too. So the broken femur was what ended the running. And a broken femur is actually, can be life-threatening in itself. So that was another big hurdle I had.
Oh, okay. Wow. And so then did they say that you couldn't go, running again, or you can't get the scholarship? Did they ever take that away, or did you ever get that?
No, that's something that after a while, and it was probably one of the most depressing times of my life, was when I realized I can't run. I physically, I can go out and jog around the block, but can I run at my Olympic dream was gone. I cannot compete. I cannot run at the level of which I wish I could anymore. And that was heartbreaking for me. That was a tough thing to hear because it was out of my control. When it came to my education and whatnot, that was something that I had control over. The harder I studied, the better I did. The harder I worked, the better I did. But with running, that was something that it didn't matter what I did. It was gone. It was out of my control. And that was a tough time in my life, dealing with that.
Yeah, that is tough. But it's interesting how you reframe that, you know, just right now, you just said, I didn't have control over that, but I had control over, you know, working hard in school and getting things going. And I love that, because that is going from a victim, you know, mindset to a victor mindset, where you say, it's not about what I can't control, it's about what I can control. And that's what I always talk about when it comes to thriving, and about making sure you have resilience, that it's all a practice about asking, what do I want? When do I want it? What do I have control over? And what can I do now to improve my life? And that's exactly what you did. And that's amazing. So viewers and listeners, so the viewers on Hangout and the listeners on iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play, remember, this is what it is about. What Matthew just said right now is, what can I have control over? What can I do now to improve my life? It was depressing for him, but he didn't let that stop that. He said, okay, it's out of my control. What can I do now to improve my life? That is going from a victim mindset to a victor mindset, or what I also call blame mindset to an outcome mindset. So remember that. So for those of you just joining us, this is Zahin Nanji, your host for Thrive in Life. There we go, Thrive in Life show. And we air this every other Sunday. Well, no, I'm wrong. The first and last Sunday of the month. So even though this is the second Sunday, it's Mother's Day. So again, happy Mother's Day to all of you. And we're talking to Matthew Gerard, who is talking about his journey from when he suffered an accident at the age of 16 and how he got over it. And I really like his story, because it's a, even though it is a story that happens to a lot of people, it is the mindset that he had that got him out of there. And that's why he's on this show. So Matthew, let's just go back to how now you're at the hospital and you're saying, yeah, I don't have control over the running, but you know, let me work hard and all that. Now I kind of want to go into what made you get into comedy in the first place. Were you always a comedian?
Comedy. Oh, wow. Comedy's probably the best, worst thing I've ever done in my life. After being in the hospital and whatnot, I had the opportunity to really talk about my story. And at a lot of hospitals, I got to speak at a lot of universities and colleges about recovering from my accident. I had some doctors fly down from Finland to meet me, because when I was in the hospital, they did a pretty much an experimental study on me, which saved my life. There are medical journals out there about what these doctors did to me while I was in the hospital, which makes my recovery so phenomenal and why I'm as good as I am today. So I had all these people that wanted to hear my story. But eventually there wasn't any more talks for me happening. And you're a speaker yourself. There's some addiction to having a microphone in your hand in front of people. I love it. So I started doing stand-up comedy, and I've been doing that for 2 years now. I've been performing at various comedy clubs. I perform at Yuck Yucks every now and then. It's the best, worst thing that ever happened to me. And like I said, I'm starting my own business of speaking. So I think if I can be a good comedian, I'll be an even better motivational speaker. But it doesn't work vice versa. You can't be a good speaker and a great comedian. Okay, comedian, good motivational speaker.
I totally agree, because I can't see myself doing comedy either. I'm just good.
Yeah, well, comedy's hard.
It is hard. It is hard. Okay. So let me ask you this. What would be the two things that you think really helped you with the recovery? And I know when it comes to really bouncing back, when it comes to having that inner strength and bouncing back, I kind of find with all the stories and the people that I've interviewed, they always say that it wasn't me alone. I had a network, or I had support, or I had faith, or I had Just along those lines, what do you think were the two things that really helped you bounce back? If it wasn't for that, do you think you would be where you are right now?
Well, there's more than two things that really helped me, but I'll
Sure.
narrow it down to two right off the bat, being my family. I got an amazing family that has been supportive since day one. They were at the scene of the accident. They were in the hospital every day. They were with me when I got out of the hospital. Family support and encouragement from them. I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for my family. The next thing that I really contribute a lot to is the doctors and support staff I worked with, not only in the hospital. Once I got out of the hospital, I worked with a rehabilitation therapist. I had a speech language pathologist. I had an occupational therapist. I had a physiotherapist. I had a case manager. I had a social worker. Like, the list goes on. My house transformed into a hospital. Every day I was meeting with somebody. And when I got out of the hospital, I can remember playing freaking games where I have to match pictures, just working on my memory, my recollection, like so much stupid stuff that I think now, but it played such an important role in me getting to where I am today. And without my family and that support staff, I would not be where I am today. But also another thing that, like I said, I don't profess to be any more resilient than anybody else, but with my competitive nature from track and field, failure is not an option to me. It never has been, and it never will be. And even though I hit those times where it seemed impossible and really tough, I just kept going, and I persevered through all life's trials and tribulations of that accident to get me where I am today.
That is interesting. And that's the kind of things that I hear is the support, and like you said, from your family, and also your own kind of nature, where you've always been that kind of person. It's that I'm not gonna quit. I'm just gonna keep doing what I can do best, right? Which is great.
Yeah, the auto insurance companies, they're great. If you're going to hurt yourself, do it behind the wheel of a car. The funding you get from them is unbelievable.
There you go. You're a comedian. Okay, so we're almost at the end of the show. See, we're just having a great time. So what I wanted to do though is, Matthew, is I'm sure there are other people out there who either they know someone or they themselves have had this kind of maybe accident or a similar trauma in their life. And they may be in a place where they may not be thinking like the way you are, that they need some more help, or they need some advice or tips. What would you share with them, or what could you tell them that would help them bounce back and see life in a different way?
To bounce back, I can remember a year after my accident, there was another really bad accident in my high school, and it was a young boy, had a similar injuries as me, and the first thing I did was I went up to the hospital. I sat down and I was talking with his family, and they had a lot of the same questions for me. I guess, you know what, you gotta accept your point in life at that time. You got to appreciate that you were in a very serious accident. You have to be able to appreciate that and see it for what it is. And don't give up. Keep going. Keep trying. Like, I had people tell me I'd never graduate high school. That just lit my fire to make me want to do it even more and even more. And I would say, listen to the doctors, but don't listen to them. They really, when it comes to giving somebody, where are you going to be in 5 years? Nobody knows. That's up to you. That's for you to decide. And don't let anybody tell you you can't do something, because you can get out there and go do it. Prove them wrong. There's no I can'ts. Just work your butt off. Sacrifice, dedication, perseverance. Just get out and do it.
Just do it. Like the
Nike. There you go.
Yeah. Just like the way Nike says, just do it.
Yeah. Don't let anybody else put you down. Just work hard at it. It's not easy, and it's not gonna be easy, but you can improve your life little by little each day.
Yeah, yeah. And I just want to say to the viewers and listeners too that there's a saying that, you know, life never ends, it keeps moving, and there's always a beginning. You know, when a child is growing up, they're always going through change. And what, you know, Matthew went through, right, is change. It was a big change. And when he said that the one thing that you want to do is appreciate what you went through and accept it, what he was doing was embracing change. That to me is huge, because when you accept what you're going through, you will start to understand that, okay, this is the way it is, now what? Instead of saying, why me? Why this happened to me? You know, again, that's a victim mindset. And when we're there, we're not thinking about the solutions, but we're just being stuck. And with his story, I found that he wasn't stuck. He was embracing the change he was going through and saying, okay, I can't run. I have been told that I have an IQ of a 2-year-old. I can't talk and all that. I'm not going to be here. I don't like being here. Let's find a solution. And this is what, in the end, resilience is all about. It's about building that inner strength every day and coping with what you have and accepting it and keep functioning instead of feeling like your back is against the wall. And what he did too was that he went through his learnings. He went through his challenges and adversities and came back with a new learning about himself. Because Matthew, I'm sure that you came back, you know, thinking, wow, I could do this. If I could do that, that means I can do this. Like, I'm sure that the whole, you know, belief system about what you are capable of just is amazing now. Like, you've just changed, right?
Your paraphrasing is miraculous. But no, after university, I worked for a company called Community Living London, where I supported people who had disabilities. Some of these people I supported had sustained acquired brain injuries that were less severe than mine was. And here I am supporting these people in their daily lives. I worked that job for 4 years. After a while, I realized, you know what, as much as I love being a part of this organization, it wasn't for me. My passion is getting out and telling my story. I resigned from my job after already buying my first house when I was 23 and a brand new car too. This guy with acquired brain injury, all this nice stuff. But I left my job, and now me and you, we took the course with Hugh. And I'm looking to get into speaking and starting my own business and getting out there with a microphone, telling my story, helping other people. Hopefully I can make some money doing that too, because we all need that as well. But business will start up soon for me. And I'm on a new path right now that scares the living crap out of me. I'm petrified on this new change in my life that I'm going through right now. But with my sacrifice, my dedication, my perseverance, I am very confident that I'm going to be a success in this line of work too, just as you are. I've been seeing your website. It looks fantastic. You've done a lot of success yourself, and I look forward to the future.
Awesome. So Matthew, I know you're on Facebook and you're also working on your website and trying to get that up.
Yes.
But if we have some viewers and listeners trying to get a hold of you or want to know more about you, how can they do that?
How can they do that? I don't know. I don't even have a cell phone right now. No, they can look me up on Facebook if they want. It's Matthew Gerard. Or if they're interested in stand-up comedy too, they can look up my comedy page, and that's Faceplant Comedy on Facebook. And I will have a website up and going very soon. And when I do, I will advertise that on my Facebook as well.
Okay, wonderful. And just so you all know that his last name is spelled Gerard. So Matthew.
Correct.
And you can find him on Facebook. And you're so funny. And Faceplant Comedy also on Facebook. All right. Well, we're almost at the end of the show. And again, Thank you so much for listening and watching. And again, until next time, the next show, episode number 24, we are going to have Monique, and she's going to talk about how to have difficult conversations, and she'll have a script for you as well. And again, communication is a big part of being resilient. And in fact, I have a whole chapter on that in my book. My name again is Zaheen Nanji, your host. And until next time, make sure you make resilience your first reflex. Bye now.